Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to the Tune Up. I got my boy Mike in the building. How you doing?
What's up? Doing good, doing good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Jerry.
Of course. So today, ladies and gentlemen, because I know some of y'all have asked for it, and you know how YouTube is with audio, we gonna get to this discussion about one of the greatest to ever touch a microphone. We gonna talk about one of the best to ever do it, the best to ever touch a stage. You know him. I know him. Mr. Marshall Mathers III, because you know he don't want to be associated with.
You don't want to be associated.
Yeah. But we talking about Mr. Marshall Mathers, Eminem, and the new album Revival that has been the source of so much debate.
Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, even the first day I had those 3 listens, I still didn't have an opinion on it yet.
Right, exactly.
And then I kept listening through it throughout the week, and to be honest with you, I kind of am in the same boat as a lot of the fans right now. They're, you know, 50-50, but then the album in itself, I believe, is 50-50. It's made for both fans.
Right.
The fans that are with the old M and who have been with M, and the fans that are here now. You know, newer generation still getting into Eminem.
Right, exactly.
I think it's a pretty great album that's going to be, you know, probably a tough one to beat. Going to be one of those ones that's going to be number one for another one of his accolades.
I'm saying, because he just got another number one with it. I think he had like 200K, 220K, some really, really good opening first week with the album. And that's, I think, his 8th number one album or something like that. And you know, it's just Eminem being Eminem.
Right.
I remember when I first heard Walk on Water, the opening debut lead single for the album, and I was very mixed about it. I was like, okay, this is an interesting take on what I was expecting, because this all followed the Trump freestyle. And I hate saying that man's name. I really do. But I have to, in the context of conversation. After that, I was like, okay, this is not Mr. I'm gonna bleach my hair again to do Marshall Mathers like stuff. You know, I'm not trying to be slim on this album, which is another reason why I was kind of like iffy with Marshall Mathers LP2. And you know, y'all know sequels are always hit and miss. Like, it's rare that you get A New Hope and then Empire Strikes Back. You know what I mean? Like, it's rare.
It's actually a really great way to say it.
You know what I'm saying?
Trying to tackle new things, you know, stay relevant. I guess that's kind of really the key to, you know, a lot of hip hop nowadays. I mean, a lot of them strive for relevance. They don't necessarily need it. It's not all the validation, but definitely it's something that he tries to accomplish because, you know, he has fans that he's trying to appease, and he knows that they're out there. He knows that they're listening, and if they're going to want to listen to his album, they're going to be there for it.
Exactly.
You know, like you said, Walk on Water, the first listen, I didn't really know what to think because it's, you know, again, one of those very, like, odd songs to even, like, flow with when you're listening to it, because
it's piano only.
Yeah, it's piano only and very raw bars. His way with words, it kind of leaves you a little bit scatterbrained and a little tongue-tied, but once you listen to it a little bit more, like, you realize a lot of what he's talking about is pretty much what the rest of the album is going to feel like.
Exactly. And, you know, I don't know if you saw my post, but, like, listening to it for, like, the 4th or 5th time and hearing that hook and, like, certain lyrics in there, I was like, oh, damn, like, that's hitting home more than it used to, more than it ever did. Like, I'm hearing this in a new light, and the video also does that. So it was like, okay, I needed a couple listens to really get to why he put this song out, and now I can, you know, pertain it to me and how it relates to me, which is something that I haven't really got from Em in a while. Like, I rarely say, damn, Eminem gets me. Because, you know, he was never really rapping stuff that I was going through. He was never really rapping stuff that I could, you know, put to the situations in my life. I just looked at him as elite lyricist, you know? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, especially, like, when you compare it to, you know, his last album, Marshall Mathers LP2, like, that was another album that he came out with that I don't really, you know, you go through song and you kind of keep switching because you don't really relate to what's going on in that album because it's kind of just one of those albums kind of like, not anywhere near as much how Relapse was, but you know, just a bunch of things that you don't really understand why he's talking about it, but he is. But yeah, Walk on Water, I know that, I mean, I'm personally not necessarily a songwriter, you know, I'm more of an enthusiast, but still, you know, I can understand that for being like a songwriter, being an artist, things like that, like, these are very real and very necessary thoughts that happen to these artists, like, you know, how are we gonna, like, appease fans, how, like, you know, I keep, you know, walking on water, but it pretty much he's calling himself not a god because he's seen as this god.
Exactly.
You know, and it has to live up to that expectation. But, you know, he can't create miracles. You know, he can only walk on water when it freezes.
Exactly.
You know,
and there you go, making the song make that much more sense.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because that main part where Beyonce says, "I don't think you should believe in me the way that you do because I'm terrified to let you down."
Yeah.
That line hit me. I was like, whoa. Because you know, I don't speak highly of myself, and I know. You know, a lot of people from high school were like, "You gonna be famous, da 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 da," and I hate to say that because you know, but you know that's something that I don't like because I don't like letting people down. So when that part of the song came in there, I was like, "Damn, that's heavy." And the same thing with Eminem. To see him, you know, 45 in this light of his career, being so critical of himself, I'm like, "Damn, like you see yourself like this." So it was while it was a mixed bag of emotions initially. The deeper you go into it, I think you can find more appreciation for it.
Once you kind of take all your own self-criticism and align it with, you know, your fan base and everyone else's opinions, you know, you can kind of see, you know, how you can grow and where you can grow, what you need to work on, and what's working for you.
Exactly.
And what's working for him. So I think he is addressing that a lot in this album and is actually making it work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, necessarily not getting a ton of like new age approval, but he definitely is making moves to, you know, stay relevant, but also keep his old style.
Overall, with Revival, for me, MMLP2 was a much bigger disappointment than people are making Revival to be. That's just me. Because I remember, you know, as an Eminem fan, when I saw that he was back to Blonde Marshall, I was like, oh, shoot, okay, so are we gonna try to go for stuff like MMLP1, Eminem Show, which is, you know, it's really funny to me too because the same harsh criticism and the same attitude that they're giving Eminem right now, they gave to Lil Wayne back in 2013 when he gave us I'm Not a Human Being 2 and all those other like really throwaway verses and songs. And it's just it's infuriating to me because I hate how fickle the fan base of hip hop has become. It's definitely
That's actually a really good point.
You know what I mean? There'll be for you one moment, one album, and they'll, you know, if anybody thinks different, they'll list the whole, but you remember when such and such did this and such did that. They were doing all that for Eminem when Lil Wayne was putting out, you know, mediocre to bad material. Now that the coin is kind of flipped and people don't think Eminem is putting out good stuff, they're trashing his name and calling Lil Wayne a legend when it was the complete opposite, you know, just a couple years ago.
Right, and it's kind of like the two sides of that coin. It kind of just sucks because as an artist, you know, you're always trying to everyone's also trying to kind of expect you to outdo yourself.
Exactly.
Like
over
each and every time.
Exactly.
And as an artist, I think from that perspective, if you don't outdo yourself, people will like get disappointed with your music or not see it as such or highly regarded as they did before. Right. And so that's kind of like, people kind of forget that they kind of have to take each album with like a grain of salt because, you know, they're not going to be feeling the same way on each album each time. You know, sometimes they're going to be feeling better and make better music. Sometimes it's going to be, you know, maybe they're struggling with it because they're either pressed or all that high expectation, and you know, or sometimes they just get lost in the life, like the fame and everything. Yeah. And, you know, there's a lot more to the music world than just the music. You know, a lot of what goes on around them in their environment is affecting the music also. Especially in terms of Eminem, like his expectation for this album. Or I think for LP2 was kind of a lot more because it was such a big gap between then and Recovery.
Of course. That and this Marshall Mathers LP.
Right.
Which is, you know, that and Eminem Show are the ones that people debate on, you know, which is his best.
I think he may have like been a little bit overstepping with choosing the title as the LP2.
Literally, because that already set the bar. Because I mean, the first one you had The Way I Am, Stand, Kill You, Who Knew, I'm Back, Kim. And if you're an Eminem fan, you remember Kim.
In his nightmares, that's what it is.
Literally. I heard the first time I heard it, I didn't listen to it again for like a year and a half. It was that dark. But again, it's such a piece of art when you talk about Eminem as an artist, because anybody that can convey that much emotion to one song alone, and fun fact, did all that in one take. You know, of course he went back and did the Kim vocals, but his part, all in one take? Are you kidding me? An artiste. But again, to call something, and again, going back to the sequel thing, to call the album that you're putting out so late in your career, the sequel to one of your best. I think the album is about to be like double diamond. Like, I think it has 12 million in the U.S. So it's 8 million away from being double diamond. But again, yeah, exactly. That's fucking crazy, right?
Only one to have 3 diamonds also in general.
Exactly. So if you are putting the bar that high for the upcoming album, it's the sequel to the album that y'all fell in love with. Because, you know, some people were divided with the Slim Shady LP because of, you know, the lyrical content on there. After the Marshall Mathers LP, and he really overstepped his bounds and really was going at you with lyrics, concepts, production. Everybody's like, okay, this is the dude to watch. To put an album out that's the sequel to that, that's huge.
Yeah, and also I think people, especially with the features that were said to be on that album,
right,
and also the production on it as well. Like, I think people kind of expected a lot more. Mm-hmm. I definitely expected a lot more from like a Eminem, like Kendrick collab.
Yeah, big time.
From you know, I don't even know who else was. I can't really remember who else was on the album anymore.
Yeah, and that was the problem. It wasn't that memorable of an album.
Yeah, you know, and even myself, I think there's only like a handful of choice songs, even if that you know still kind of resonate with me that I understand. I mean, right. I still think that, you know, Rap God, as much as, you know, it has like a very divided like view of Rap God. I think, like, the point is there. Like, I think it's more of like a point piece than anything.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a better way to look at it. Because for me, Berserk and Rap God did nothing for me, but other songs on the album did. Like, my favorite was Wicked Ways, and that was a bonus track. The one with Sia was pretty cool too, but Wicked Ways, I was like, this is what I wanted on the whole album. Mm-hmm. It was just, you know, it's blunt delivery, it's technique, and I think most of Rap God was just to show his technique, because everybody's favorite part is the supersonic part. And that's fine, you know, like what you like, but for me, I was just like, this production ain't doing nothing for me. The lyrics didn't really go anywhere. It was pretty much just all over the place, but you know, it's Eminem.
Yeah, and he's always, I mean, if he's not taking a stab at someone, like in his other movies, he's kind of taking a stab at like a general like thought about him, and a lot of that was like, you know, people kind of start comparing his music to pop music, and that's one thing that he really dislikes. Yeah, he absolutely hates being compared to pop music because it's just not his style and never really was. You know, so yeah, the whole reason why I think he's kind of just trying to make the point of that he can rap over these beats, but it's still hip hop, it's still his rap. Right. Like, he's, you know, and it's kind of like, I get it, but at the same time, it's not as delivering as it could have been if he just rapped like himself. Yeah.
The most blaring thing that you pointed out to me was that Revival doesn't have any skits.
Right.
Yeah. It has an interlude and an intro, but there's no skits. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people love the skits on Eminem's show, on Encore. And there was a couple skits on LP2. I think there was one right after the opening track and then one at the end of the album. But even that was kind of just, you know, that was different because, you know, the King Kniff skits and, you know, the Paul skits.
Yeah, he's definitely dialing himself back and definitely kind of downplaying the whole like alter ego thing. Like, he doesn't, I think he's kind of, you know, growing up to the fact that he doesn't need those, you know, he doesn't need kind of Kniff, doesn't need to have like, you know, any of Paul Rosenberg's skits or any of these other skits that go on to kind of like give you a little intro into what he's actually going to start saying on this next song. Right. Talking shit about or who about. I do miss those skits, but especially on a Revival, I think that these interludes and these preludes to some of these songs, like, you know, whether they have words or they're just, you know, they're just ambient music, there's just intro music, it makes the album really flow because it kind of just connects them, and then they kind of just start you into a new position, and it prepares you for what's actually going to come next. Right. Without having to riff on anybody, without having to kind of give you any sort of like, you know, peek into Eminem's head that's going to kind of sway you to believe in him in either a negative light or a positive light. Right. But yeah, definitely, I think it's something that you got to pay attention to. Even that little bit of a detail is definitely planned. It's all planned. Eminem's always planned out.
So, to wrap up our little discussion on Revival and how we feel about it, what would you say would be like the top 5 tracks on the album?
I mean, River, I gotta hand it to
Shout out Ed Sheeran.
You know, like at the same time, like I keep saying, you know, the first half of the album is really to kind of appease a lot of like the either radio play, a lot of the more like You know,
yeah, because he was even trying somewhat like the new wave rap on there. And
yeah, right, like with
that was
Chloroseptic
and
even Believe. I didn't even know Believe was gonna be like you know, one of the top 3 tracks on the album that's out right now, because River, Believe, and Walk on Water are all the top tracks right now.
Right, yeah.
Which I think Believe's a great track. It's definitely a little bit more like new age, and I think he actually kind of killed it.
Yeah,
Chloroseptic is a little bit like more down there.
Big time. Yeah.
I really like. I gotta say, A Rose is a really good.
song. Rose is beautiful,
just because it's the perfect exit song.
Yes, the concept of A Rose is insane. Like y'all really just listen to the final 2 tracks on here. I mean, the light is blocking it so you can see it, but the final 2 tracks really wrap up like how conceptual he can get as an artist, and it's beautiful to see. Now we're kind of doing track by track.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I gotta say River. I gotta say A Rose. I guess I'm leaning more towards like the raw side, the more like you know, so Offended,
Offended, wow,
Faded,
yeah,
or Framed, not Faded,
yeah.
Framed, and I like Untouchable. Untouchable is a very powerful song. It's between that and Like Home for me.
I get you.
I like Home just because again they both kind of have the same message.
Yeah,
kind of this kind of
together
vibe. But I kind of didn't really like what they did with Alicia Keys.
Interesting.
Mainly because I didn't think it sounded like her.
Yeah,
you know, I think
it did sound like somebody else.
They kind of like touched it up too much to where it kind of just sounded like someone on the track.
Yeah, I feel you.
And that kind of, I mean, it's a little small thing, but that kind of ruins it for me when you don't have the artist being the artist.
Of course. It's vital.
I gotta say something about Bad Husbands just because I think it was a good song for him to write. Yeah. Like, I think he really meant it in a lot of ways, but God, that hook! I love X Ambassadors, but I just don't like what they chose to do for it.
Wow, because Bad Husband is actually one of my favorites.
It's one. I mean, I love the song. I just think the hook, like, it's a little bit corny. Like, I think in the words,
okay.
Just because, like, I think they could have been more creative with it.
Yeah, I get you.
They're a great band with a great voice. Like, I love. They've done some projects with Jay-Z. They've done some projects with Just Blaze. Like,
yeah. Shout out Just Blaze.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, they're great. But I think, like, it could have been worked a little bit more.
Okay.
Definitely a great song. Probably a close, like, 6th or 5th.
Gotcha. Okay. For me, I would definitely say Bad Husband would be my number 5. 4, River. 3, I would probably go with Believe. 2, I really do like Tragic Endings. I mean, I've been listening to that one a lot. But I'd probably also give that one to Nowhere Fast because I like how Eminem attacked that beat. But I do
shout out to Kehlani.
Shout out to Kehlani. And then shout out to Skylar Grey too. But yeah, I think cementing number 2 I think would be Tragic Ending because I felt like that was like a classic like part of recovery that I liked. You know what I mean? Because there was some songs. My least favorite song on the album is definitely Need Me with Pink. I thought that was awful. I'm very sorry, but I like that one. That reminded me of Spacebound. I hated Spacebound. But my number 1 I think would be Offended because I loved that callback to Slim Shady. That the fast rap at the end,
the change in beat,
exactly the way it switches up. We gonna give you a little bit of Offended in just a second, but I would definitely say Offended is my favorite and my top track on here simply because it's classic Eminem, but with Marshall Mathers' mature approach. You feel me? Like it's mature M being. Like, oh, you remember when I did this? Yeah, I can still do it. You know what I mean? And then my runner-up would definitely be Framed because that beat is so insane. Like, for me, your gripe with the hook on Bad Husband is the gripe I have with the hook on Framed. I was like,
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I mean, to me, a lot of rap doesn't need a hook.
Yeah.
The industry believes it does.
Yeah.
So that I kind of feel like that's why they got to write them in.
Big time.
But at the same time, like, everything else around it, you know, frames the song.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Till I get the president to respond. My pen and pencil is a missile launcher. And Senator Mitch McConnell just speaking for bitches done. Shit's on, bro. Drag my name through the mud, through the dirt. Like, I'm gonna make you eat your
I hope you're offended.
Try to hold me down, but you better let me up. Cause you're only gonna make things worse.
What?
Swear when I get up, I'm never gonna let up.
So everybody eats my turn. Now that's really classic Slim Shady to me because that immediately threw me back to Under the Influence. You know, so you can suck my dick if you don't like my shit. And then the beginning of it, you know? Even, don't get mad at me for this, but even Fack, off of Curtain Call, like, that was still Slim. Even though it was weird and it was the beat that he would never, ever go for, it still worked, and it was funny because it was still, you know, it was like a callback to my band.
Yeah, it kind of gets you. I think it also is just one of those things that it grabs your attention. It's like put there to like give you that little corny beat, the little like nursery rhyme. Yeah. Kind of like, wait, what's going on? And then boom, drop.
Exactly.
I hope to hope and while you host me off the nope, I won't be washed. Hope to God I don't explode. I gotta blow the spot up though. I got a lot of mo. I won't put the sugar.
What?
You ain't have to have no money or go shopping, just a couple fucking attitude. Now my dough's a mountain to a mountain. It's rise too high to count it. Never asked to be rich. All I did was wish I had a dime for every time that I was down it. But it's embedded in my head. I never hunted for the bread and butter. What I wanted was to be the one that they was getting, but I'm never gonna get the credit for the sweat and blood I put up in the pen. And when I'm dead, I wonder will they put me on a pedestal and forget I was ever this incredible. I guess I better go harder than ever, cause I'll never get another motherfucking opportunity again to offend as many people with this I can simply because I can't. Me, everybody.
That boy Eminem, bro. I'm telling you right now. And I think I liked that much more than the whole supersonic thing on Rap God because the beat fit him. The character fit him too, like the character of that whole song, like the composition of it. It was very, although it was like a new age beat, it felt like he was still, you know, attacking it like how he's known to attack beats.
It was it's a way stronger song offender than Rap God. Even it takes you back to kind of like his speed and verse or like some like even something like Despicable if you guys ever freestyle.
Wow.
Like, God. On point, bar after bar, like almost like some Busta Rhymes, you know?
Hell yeah! Salute to Busta.